Hi, so today we're going to complete this paper. It was a 3-hour paper, the November 2023 IEB Information Technology Paper 1. And if you want to see the SQL question, and then section B, questions 2, 3, 4, and 5, please look at the last two YouTubes. Today, I'm going to carry on with question 6. So, Rent My Parking needs to create invoices for each vehicle owner who has used the parking garage. Since each vehicle has used the garage multiple times in the month, the parking fee for each entry and exit must be calculated and added to a total monthly total. Since each vehicle registration can have multiple array objects, a unique sequence of vehicle registration numbers must be created. Code a method called getRegistrationList to create an alphabetical string of the registration numbers stored in the array called PR. The string must not contain any duplicates. Separate each registration number with the hash character. The method should return the following string, and there you can see all the registration numbers that are in the array, but only once. And if you look at the data, so you would have to get the ABC123 GP out, then BBC123 MP, then BJW595 NC, etc. So we're going to start creating the loop. The method is going to be public string get registration list. And you can see that they did tell you the method should return a string. That's why I made it a string method. I'm going to say string temp equals quote, quote, and return temp at the end. Then we just need to program what goes in the middle. Now, because they want the list to be alphabetical, I'm going to make sure that the sort by registration method has been called. It may have been called, it may not have been called, so I'm highlighting it, Control C to copy. I'm going to go Control V here to paste, put a semicolon. So I'm making sure that the array is already in order of registration numbers. Okay, so now we're going to need a for loop. FR tab to look through the whole array. Remember that our array PR contains all of the data from the text file, and PR is the name of our array, and up to the up to size is the place which contains all the data. Okay, so all I need to do is get the registration numbers out of the array, check whether they're already in the temp string or not. If they're not, you add them to the temp string. So I'm going to say if bracket not temp dot contains, and I'm going to get PR square brackets I dot get registration number bracket bracket. Oops, I made a typo there. Okay, get registration. So if the new registration number from the array is not yet in the temp string, then I must add this registration number. You could say temp, you could say equals temp plus, or there's a shortcut for that. You can say temp plus equals. It's the same thing. Temp plus equals, and I want to add this registration number. So highlight it, Control C, Control V, semicolon, and the registration number is now in the temp string. Remember that for a for loop, if there's only one line, for an if statement, if there's only one line as a result of your if being true, you do not need the curly brackets. But we can put the curly brackets. Actually, if you go Alt-Shift-F to format, you'll see that they get added anyway. Okay. So Alt-Shift-F again there. And that's it for this method. That should do it. We can now test the method, get registration list. I'm going to highlight it, copy it, go to parking UI. And I'm just going to print that method because remember it returns a string. So I can say PM dot get registration list and check that it's printing the right thing. I'm going to comment that out so I don't print the whole list, the whole array. I just want to see if the registration list is right. And I know I've made a mistake as I'm telling you now, but let's go and look. It's all about making mistakes and fixing them, right? I forgot the hashtag between all the registration numbers. So let's go and add it. I need to go plus word hash. And let's test it again. And that looks better. It's just as they wanted. If you compare my results and the question, all good. Okay, let's go to the next question. Back to parking manager class. All right. Code a method called generate billing to return a string with invoices for each vehicle registration number. The method must do the following. Call the get registration list method and assign it to a string called cars. Use the string called cars to do the following. Use the hashtag character to isolate the registration numbers. And then for each registration number extracted, search P array, get the matching registration numbers, and then get the parking fee, and then add that to the invoice fee. And then if the registration number, there's all sorts of little things to add there. I'm not going to read it all now. We'll read it as we go. So I'm going to code my method, public string generate billing. And this method must also return a string. Let's call the string invoice. Okay, yeah, I'm going to go string invoice and just put an empty string there. And we're going to return invoice right at the end. Okay. There it says call the get registration list method and assign it to a string called cars. So let's do that. String cars equals get registration list, bracket, bracket. And now we've got that whole list of cars in that string called cars. We could use the scanner class method and separate it, but it will be faster just to use the split method. So I hope you know about the split method. Let's call it reg equals, sorry, I'm actually creating an array here, string square brackets reg equals cars dot split. And what do I want to split on? I want to split on the hashtags. Okay, what cars dot split does is it takes this string here. It looks for the hashtags, and every time it finds a hashtag, whatever's before the hashtag, it will take, for example, that number plate, ABC123GP, and it will put that into reg square brackets 0. So the first cell of the array called reg. Then it will take BBC123MP and put that in cell 1, second cell of reg, and so on. Okay, just going to put some blank lines there so clear where we're working. And so that splits the cars string nicely and easily for us. Next, we're going on to 6.2.2. Use the string called cars to do the following. Okay, use the hashtag character to isolate the registration numbers. We've done that. For each registration number extracted, search the array PR for the matching registration number and determine the total parking fee. So we've got this reg array. I'm going to do a for loop on that reg array, reg dot length. We don't know how many registration numbers there are. So we use the reg.length method to make sure that we count all the way from the first cell, cell 0, to the end of the reg array, which contains all the registration numbers shown here. Okay. And then we need to search the array PR for the matching registration number. So we're going to do a second for loop. You can go FR tab, you'll see it will put J there instead of I. because it can see there's not, this is a nested loop, and we'll say J less than size, because this one we're going to look through PR in the second for loop. And then we're going to say if reg square brackets I dot equals, and I'm going to say, I'm going to look in the array PR square brackets J dot get registration number bracket bracket. If I have found a record, or an object in P array J whose registration number matches the registration number in the reg array, then I know I'm going to go work out a fee for this one. So I must get the total parking fee. For that, I'm going to need to create a double here. I actually, so if you look here, get parking fee will return a double. There's get parking fee in the daily object, and there's get parking fee in the long-term object. So they've both got a get parking fee method. So I'm going to set double fee equal to 0 here. And over here, I'm going to say fee equals fee plus, and I'm going to say P array J, square brackets J dot get parking fee. And the beauty of this is that whether P array square brackets J is a daily object or a long-term object, it doesn't matter, because there's a get parking fee method in both of these objects, right? So that we need to do. If the registration, okay, we've done that, we've done this one. Then if the registration number has a long-term parking bay, record the bay number. So we're going to, let's just put our curly brackets there just to make it neater. Now we're going to say if we need to determine whether this is a long-term or a daily object. So we're going to say if P array J instance of, remember the instance of operator, long-term. So if it's a long-term type object, all right, well, it won't be a daily object, it will be a long-term object, then I need to record the bay number. So I'm going to say, maybe I need to create a bay number somewhere. I'm going to do it here, string bay, and let's just set it equal to the empty string. I'm going to record the bay here. Bay equals P array J dot get bay number, or I think it's dot get parking bay. Oops, like that. All right. You can go to the long-term class. There's get parking bay. All right. Then it says append or join each vehicle's registration number followed by the month parking entries and exits with the total amount due for the month to the invoice string. I've got my invoice string there. So I need to append the car's registration number. So I'm going to do that in the first for loop before I go into the second for loop. I'm going to say invoice plus equals reg square brackets I, right? And we better put a blank line plus quote backslash n, right? I'm also thinking, you see, they have given us examples, so I've done that part or that part, okay? And then followed by the month's parking entries and exits. Now that we need to do inside this for loop. So over here, I'm going to say invoice plus equals P array. Oops, no, I better do that inside this if statement, hey, because we don't want to just add all of the, only if the registration number matches the outer loop one, then invoice plus equals P array J dot, let's go to the daily class and see, we want get entry date time. I'm copying that, so I'm going to paste it there, and plus quote \n, and then I'm going to copy this line because I'm going to repeat it for the exit date time. Just have to change that. Exit. All right. Okay, so that's, I'm just keep reading my questions and in my mind, or you can tick it on your paper if you're doing it from a physical paper. Registration number we've done, parking entries and exits we've done. Now total amount due for the month. Now that surely must be done after this for loop. The for loop that looks through the array, the PR, for all of that registration numbers, records or entries, okay? So I'm going to say here, once the inner for loop is done, I'm going to say invoice plus equals, and I want to put the fee. But let's just look here. How do they want it to look? They want total parking fees due :R. So let's do that. Quote, total parking fees due :R, and then plus fee. And don't forget, plus quote \n. Every time you add something, put a \n there. Now include the bay number at the end of the invoice string if the vehicle has long-term parking bay. So actually this should come here. So I'm going to move it. I'm going to do that. I'm going to cut that and paste it here. And because the J loop has finished, I'm going to use I. I'm not sure if that's going to actually be correct though. No, I can't do that. I must leave it there. I'm going to say here. I've recorded the bay, so I'm going to say, I'm going to say, what should I say? Actually, and this if statement should not be there. It should be inside this loop. Okay, let's Alt-Shift-F and make that tidier. So I'm going to say, I'm going to put an else here. Else, quote, bay equals, quote, quote, like that. So neutralize, make the bay empty. And over here, I'm going to say if bay, how do you say? I think it's is not null. I can't remember. Bay dot equals null. I could say that. If not, yeah, I think you could do that. Right. Then invoice plus equals. We want the parking bay. Let's see how they want that to look. Long-term parking bay number. Long-term parking bay number. And plus bay plus quote \n. Right. For daily parking with a monthly total above 1500, include the message. I'm going to say else. And here we'll say invoice plus equals. Oh yeah, no, we need to say, sorry. Here we need to say if the fee is greater than 1500, then invoice plus equals, consider renting long-term parking. Do you see how knowing how to type fast is very important for these exams? Right. And that should do it. Okay, so we're ready to test this now. Let's see, I've got an error there. I'm not sure why. No, sometimes by clicking the save button, the errors are checked and they go away. All right, so this is looking all right. It's a long method, but we've done each part that they ask for. And I'm going to run, actually, I'm going to go to parking UE and call the generate billing. Instead of get registration list, I'm going to put generate billing there. All right, so I'm calling my new method and I'm going to run it. Let me expand this so you can see better. Okay, it's actually, we need to just move it back to where it was, sorry, so we can compare our results with what we've got here. Now I can see already I'm missing some blank lines, but apart from that, let's see, ABC 123 GP. Okay, that's what total parking fees due 500, long-term parking baby 2. BBC 123 MP. And oops, there it's got long-term parking bay, nothing. Now that's a mistake. I'll have to fix that. Right. Maybe, okay. Maybe I must say, instead of null, I'll put quote, quote. All right, maybe that should help. Let's run that again. Anyway, you can fine tune this. Let's see. Yeah, that helped. I think that we've pretty much done this exam. You can see my amounts do match. Let's look at CHZ231L. There's my amount, 119.5, and everything is looking great. Okay, I hope you can follow this and try and write the exam for yourself and enjoy. And I will see you next time.